Welcome back, everybody. You're watching Small Plots with Kevin. I'm Kevin. Today we're obviously back in the city. As this video posts, I will actually be on a nice little camping trip for next week, but for this week, I'm gonna do a little historical tour. A couple of spots I wanted to check out. Currently walking through downtown Rochester, New York. The illustrious Rochester, New York. Everybody knows it, it's famous and well loved. The first stop on the tour is one of the more recognizable buildings in the city. Now that's the Times Square building. You can see it right here in front of me. It's the one with the wings. Got the wings on top. Now, one little interesting factoid about the Times Square building was the groundstone was laid on October 29th, 1929. Now, if that date sounds familiar to you, that is Black Tuesday, the day the stock market crashed, leading to the Great Depression in the following years. But it's a gorgeous old building. Lot of gorgeous old buildings here in downtown. This isn't it. This is the Gannett newspaper building. They're turning this into apartments. Don't have much to say about this now, but in the subway video, we're underneath it. It's got some beautiful Art Deco work around it. Looks like some dogs. This is mostly offices. I believe there's a coffee there. Cool, you can kind of see that. Alright, people are going in and out here. I don't want to be too whatever, but there's some cool Art Deco stuff in there. Anyway, let's keep moving. So the next building I wanted to show you guys is actually one of my favorites, just because of the sheer, the history of spite, I guess, is kind of funny. And that is the Powers building downtown here. Coming up on it, is that one on the corner. Now, one interesting little tidbit, or I guess like the interesting little tidbit of the Powers building, is you can kind of see how it was added onto throughout its life. It was this initial 5 stories here, and then they added 3 additional stories plus the observation deck. So a total of 4 extra stories were added during its lifetime, and that's simply because Daniel Powers, the man who built the building, I'll get a date here in a second. Daniel Powers, the man who built the building, was being encroached by these other buildings, and he wanted to be the tallest building in Rochester at the time. It was the first building in Rochester with gas electric, first commercial building in Rochester with gas electric in the 1860s. But it's pretty much unchanged today. If you look at old historical photos of it, that's what it looks like. One of my favorites. Just, it had so much spite, so much contempt for the other buildings around him. He couldn't stand them to be taller. He needed to be the tallest. Daniel Powers, wherever you are, I mean, you've been dead for like 200 years. Mwah. Today the Powers building is just offices and things of that nature. I've never been inside, but I would love to go inside there one day. I've seen pictures. It's very ornate and beautiful. Today the Powers building is just offices and things of that nature. I've never been inside, but I would love to go inside there one day. I've seen pictures. It's very ornate and beautiful. So right now I'm walking down State Street in Rochester. Now this used to be called Carroll Street back in the late 1700s, early 1800s. Now Charles Carroll, who Carroll Street was named after, owned much of the land in the city here, owned a ton of land, and he had a dispute with the city for some land that he purchased on Front Street and Main Street, right over there. See the trees behind Frederick Douglass over there. Now, the city lost. There was a dispute. The city lost. And they were so mad at Charles Carroll that they renamed Carroll Street to State Street. Kind of a dig to him. Now, Charles Carroll did end up getting the last laugh, however, as the property he purchased over there at Front Street in Maine, well, Front Street doesn't really exist anymore. There's like a little sliver of it over there. But Front Street is now a park, a plaza, known as Charles Carroll Plaza. It is currently under construction, getting redone. But that's just kind of a little bit of it's just the Spite Street. Everything's spiteful so far. We'll get into less spiteful stuff in a minute. But I wanted to show you this building as well. Just an old bank. Just a cool old bank, baby. I think there's like insurance, yeah, Lifetime Financial Group, health plans, yeah. I don't know how open this is, to be honest with you. Can I open the door? Like, openable? Yeah, there's lights on inside. I don't want to get too. Yeah, it looks like, okay, yeah, there's a TV on and stuff. Okay. All right, there's definitely people in there. Looks like the fake owl's really working here. Ooh. State Street's been undergoing a bit of a revival along with the rest of downtown over the past few years. A decade ago, there was really nothing here, and now there's little shops and businesses starting to pop up everywhere. Even during COVID, things never really stopped being constructed. People were continuously opening buildings, or opening businesses in the buildings. But there's still a couple of rough little patches of dilapidated storefronts and whatnot that we'll walk by. I like State Street just because it maintains some of what made Rochester more city-like before the 1960s urban renewal stuff, when they raised a lot of buildings in all cities, not just Rochester, but they tore down a lot of buildings to make room for parking lots, kind of suburbanize a lot of the cities. But State Street, I mean, you can kind of see it, how behind me, a little more urban looking. And then over there, where that group of people is standing, is just a little bit more suburban looking. Buildings are back from the road.
As in most American cities, the tendency here in recent years was a withdrawal from the central core to the surrounding suburbs. People first, then business, headed for the open spaces. Rochester didn't fight the suburbs or the shopping centers rising to meet suburban needs. Having made its peace with the past, Rochester can rip out and rearrange streets and sections of that central core to its heart's content. Here's another section that will feel the impact of the bulldozer. Surgery, tough yet tender. For Front Street in the future will be known as Genesee Crossroads.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what that is. That brown building over there is City Hall. It's been City Hall since, oh geez, I think sometime in the 1800s. Not exactly sure on the date there. Somebody's been enjoying some dunking. Doesn't look like there's any movement. Doesn't look like there's any movement in these. Let's see if we can look at this one. This one's kind of cool. You can see the old sign, the gallery, restaurant and lounge. Well, it closed when they had credit cards, so there's that. Wow, I cannot see anything other than it's a bar. I can see remnants of a bar in there, obviously. There's also a no smoking sign in there, so I guess that tells you it closed since then too. I think smoking has been indoors and legal in New York since 2000, 99, 2001, so somewhere around there. And we continue on with these renovations here. Now these, just a few, I don't know, a year or so ago were nothing. This is just a big dump, and they're starting to make them nice. I like when they make dumps nice. Now if only somebody would like to, you know, lease them. And here, some of the best pizza in the city. Maybe I'll get a slice when I'm done recording. Pizza Stop. It's fabulous. They're actually open. A lot of places are closed on Mondays when I'm recording this in Rochester, so it's nice to see them open. Right here is a really cool bar called the Spirit Room. It's really stylized. It kind of looks like inside, like if your grandma worshipped Satan and then hung out, smoked weed with you and your friends. That's kind of what this bar is. And here's some more barber shop, I guess. Just some more little businesses. Yeah, COVID hit a lot of places hard, but glad to see a lot of places still here or even opening. Yeah, these are all little businesses. I'm not really sure what they are. Marketing firms, whatnot, apartments, stuff like that. This place is unfortunately did not survive the Rona. This is pretty new. I'll have to check that out. Never seen that. Cool. Love these old, with that framework, I don't know what to call that. I just love the old designs there. That's one thing a lot of the new construction, new buildings is totally missing, is character. Like, look at this. That's just cool, man. So, optometrist in there. But yeah, just interesting stuff. Go into, well, there's can't really describe it as anything other than a P tunnel. So I'm pretty excited about that. Let's go to the P tunnel. Perfect time to cross the road. They're starting to set up cones for some kind of construction over there. Don't know what it is. It's always funny when you say hi to people and they're just like, what? That's what just happened. So to the left of me is what's known as the inner loop here in Rochester, New York. Now they've already actually got rid of about just a little less than half of it on the eastern portion, but this northern portion still exists. It used to be a loop that went all around downtown that was constructed in the 50s, I think finished in the early 60s. But basically they just tore down entire neighborhoods to build this kind of intra-city expressway called the inner loop. Now, we don't need the inner loop anymore. So they've been taking it out and rebuilding the city on it. There's tons of new apartment buildings over there where they got rid of it. But for now, we're gonna go under it, in the P tunnel. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's I'm stinging my eyes, oh my God. Good Lord. All right, well, glad we did that together. I'm gonna take a little breather under this bridge, get away from that oppressive sun, go over a little bit of history of the place that I'm going into now. It's called the High Falls neighborhood, and it's, well, built around a waterfall called, well, it's actually, the technical name is Upper Falls. It's regionally, and it's basically called High Falls. That's just kind of what it's called around here. All the branding says High Falls, and anyway, so High Falls is basically where Rochester started. It was known as the Flour City, F-L-O-U-R. There was more flour coming out of here than I think anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. They were cranking it out. They were cranking out the flour. Tons of mills. They used the power of the waterfall, High Falls, which is just under 100 feet at 96 feet, to have some mills, to mill about with the flour. We're gonna walk past some of that. There was an underground race, a waterway race that they uncovered in the 90s, and that's kind of cool too. Anyway, let's go over there. And this is one of my favorite neighborhoods. They tried to, in the 90s when they uncovered the race, they tried to kind of turn this into a bit of an entertainment district. There were a couple of clubs and bars and stuff, but Rochester's not a big enough city to support every entertainment district the city wants to come up with. So in competition with other nearby entertainment districts, and the fact that downtown's population was less back then, downtown's population, it just sort of never took off the way they wanted. I remember coming here as a kid. There was a ton of cool stuff, always a lot of people. They had laser light shows on the gorge walls. It was kind of cool. But over the years, the clubs closed, the restaurants closed, the bars closed, and now it's more of a lot of offices, commercial offices. There are some studios here, like radio studios, TV studios, things of that nature, and it's just a great place to walk. All the buildings are super old, built in the 1700s. There's a train going above me right now, so sorry about that. Let's get out of here. So I'm walking down Mill Street right now. To the right of me, don't really know what this building is, but it's old. It's a nice old building. You can touch it. Now that's the feeling of history. We're gonna keep walking down here. We have some studios there. You can tell because it says High Falls Studios on it. Which way should I go? Let's go this way. Let's start over here. I'm just kind of pan the camera around. You can just see some of these old buildings. I don't have the history for every single one of them, but they are all very old. So I'm not exactly sure why. For years they had rushing water all through here coming up. This is Brown's Race. This is where I think this is the larger part of it, but this was underground for a while. And this is how they powered the mills and some hydroelectric stuff back in the day. And they've had water running through it just for funsies. And they stopped maybe like 2 years ago. And now it's just kind of like grass. Coming up here, I'm going into a parking lot of an, an engineering firm. But next to it is an old factory, an old mill that they turned into a viewing platform that they've since blocked off to the public because of erosion and stuff, but it's not really that blocked off. They may have even gotten rid of some of that stuff because nobody paid attention to it anyway. Whew. There's a guy. Nice. Okay, I'm gonna walk up to this old mill turned into a park that used to have things blocking you from coming up here, but no longer. Certainly not. Nobody's taking care of this spot in a while. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it looks like they built like a permanent thing. No one's going in there. But there's still other parts. You used to be able to walk up there. These are relatively new. It looks kind of rusty, but new within the last few years anyway. Yeah, used to be a cool little viewing platform, but you can still go over here. I imagine this is kind of a nice spot to eat lunch if you work in the area. A lot of workers around here. You can kind of see, yeah, you can kind of see where they used to let people over there and no longer. But you can still get a glimpse of the original brickwork, the original stone masonry of when this was a working mill, factory, warehouse. I don't know what this exact building was. Goes all the way down. So it's like we're up here and looking down there, they'd have the water wheel, the gears, and the race. I don't know if that's part of Brown's Race or just part of an unnamed race stemming from Brown's Race, would hit the wheel and fall down and flow back out into the river and turn the wheel. There's some horses doing the busy work. You can see on this building where there was probably a building, I mean, not probably a building, the building that used to be here, that is now the park, touched this building. You can kind of see some old doorways and passageways, probably elevator shafts and things like that, or what do they call them, vertical railroads back then. Oh, that's the other thing about the Powers building. They had the first elevator in Rochester back in the day. Okay, that's whatever. All right, here's High Falls. We'll see the other side of it in a minute. Now, this is different from the other waterfall I went to in the last video, the urban cave video. Rochester has 3 urban waterfalls. This is the most well-known, just because it's right downtown here. Get a little view. The other waterfall, Lower Falls, which I went right next to in the last video, might be more like long ways. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I know High Falls is the best. It's the best one. It's the best of all the falls. You can see right across there the fence on top of another building. They've been doing studies to turn that into a viewing platform. I know people use it. I've seen people have fires on it, like straight up, pretty regularly. You can see there some old power lines that God knows how long those have been there. Yeah, so let's walk around. You can kind of see in the distance there that UFO looking building. Used to be a revolving restaurant in Rochester. It closed in the early 90s, late 80s, I believe. Doesn't rotate. I believe the stuff to rotate it is still there. For a while people were saying that it was taken out and sold, but Panasonic just moved in there, and there was an article about how people redoing it discovered the old gears to make it turn, and there was a bunch of engineers and stuff. He made a joke like, maybe one day we'll be bored and fix it. That was obviously a joke. I'm not expecting that to ever rotate again, but I don't know if you can see it on the left side there. There's an external elevator. Yeah, I can barely see it standing here. I bet the camera can't see that at all. But just a cool iconic Rochester building. There's a few of them. We don't have many skyscrapers, and the ones we do have aren't anything compared to things like New York or, you know, anything super modern. So as I mentioned previously, in the 90s there was a major effort to kind of renovate this place. I'm not exactly sure what it looked like before then, because I was born in the late 80s. So when I was a kid, this was like when they were redoing all that stuff. But where I'm walking now was Brown's Race. Runs still currently. I mean, there's no water in it right now, as you saw. Underground, and it was that way for many years. And then I'll show you in a second up there, they uncovered some of it over there and made it nice. Like it's a smaller area. There's like a little fountain and stuff. But before we get there, to my right here, the remains of the old Trip Hammer Forge. Full of trash. Now the story with this was the Trip Hammer Forge building burnt down in 1977, and as they were clearing away the rubble, they came across this forgotten basement area, including this giant wheel. And they had it kind of like a park, like a viewing platform for a long time. I've been down there, not sure exactly when they closed it off, but now it's kind of at the mercy of this, these are like lofts, like people live here now, so no longer access the way down to see the remains of the Trip Hammer Forge. So here's the nice, more like curated, kept a little more decent area of Brown's Race. More aesthetic with actual water. You got a couple fountains. Here's a really nice restaurant, La Luna. Haven't been there, but seems really nice. Been there for a long time. People seem to like it. I'd love to have a drink out on this patio. You'll see the old cobblestone street here. Not sure how original that is, or if they did that to make it look original, but it looks pretty nice. It fits the neighborhood. Just old ancientness. You may see behind me over here, Kodak Tower. Now, Rochester back in the day was a three-company town. It had it had Kodak, Xerox, and Bosch & Lomb. Well, Xerox moved to the suburbs. Bosch & Lomb isn't what it once was. Still has a presence in the city. I'm pretty sure they moved their actual headquarters to Canada, but Kodak's headquarters remain. You know, they're not what they once were, obviously. They're trying to switch to pharmaceuticals. There's like scandals. I don't know. We'll see. Kodak's never going to be what it once was, but it's nice to see it kind of making a bit of a comeback, and it's headquartered right here in High Falls, Rochester. And here is the old museum. See if we can... Oh yeah, they cleaned that out. There's a chair with somebody's... I want to block it with my fatness here. There's like a chair with somebody's shirt on it, a hoodie. You can kind of see like fake ice in there. probably just and like a TV with buttons, probably showing you know, how this area was all forged by glaciers. And you can see a little bubble right there, and you could look down there into the basement of this place. There was all sorts of cool stuff. It was free, but they were really pushy on the donations, so yeah, $5, whatever. They had this really weird, last time I was in there was probably 2011. I think they closed about then, 2011, 2012. I think actually last time I went, they were saying this was like their last week or something, which is kind of sad. They still do stuff here, more like meetings, like events stuff, I think. I don't know how often, because it doesn't really look super used in there or well maintained, but they used to have this display in there. It was like a taxi cab that you got in. There was a while where, like, I guess the Rochester marketing people for the city thought to be like, hey, Rochester is a city in New York, let's make it seem a little more New Yorky. So you got into a taxi cab, and in the taxi cab, well, like a yellow cab, which are around, but they're not, you know, they're New York, no, you know, New York City is more like known for them. And there was like a little video that played of this guy. It's like, hey, yo, what's going on? My name's Marty, and I love Rochester. Here, let me show you around town. It was like that kind of thing. Dude has like a New York accent. He went to the old baseball stadium, Silver Stadium, which doesn't exist anymore. It's they have a different one now, Frontier Field. And yeah, just kind of some funny stuff like that, a little outdated. And I guess probably instead of leaving the super outdated stuff, I'm sure it was it's tough to get funding, they just decided to close the space, unfortunately. By the way, I'm in another building right now, turned into a park. So a little more on the Kodak Tower. Eastman Kodak moved the headquarters here to downtown Rochester in the late 1800s, I think it was the 1880s, and that tower was built in 1914, and it's remained the headquarters ever since. Now Kodak has a much bigger footprint around the area. This isn't all of Kodak. There are many places. It was a Fortune 500 company. I don't know if it's still considered that, but it was in its heyday. And so there are places all over the place. But even over here, some of the old Kodak buildings have been converted to a college. And there are things like that all over Rochester. Big old industrial parks that are still being used today by different stuff, just not Kodak.
Yes, indeed. Old Colonel Nathaniel Rochester certainly picked an ideal location for a city. He really started something. Industries have developed here that have made the name Rochester synonymous with quality and precision manufacturing.
Cool old building. For a while, when I say a while, I mean like 2 months, it was a really great Caribbean restaurant. I went there like 2 or 3 times in the short span it was open. It was just like a family that did it. Like the waitress was a woman holding a baby, and they just had amazing food. They never had the wine that they said they had, but other than that, it was great. They closed down, unfortunately. It's a tattoo parlor now, but I'm glad something's in there. It's perfect for a restaurant, though. I mean, it's almost like a waste that it's a tattoo parlor, because they're not using the beautiful balcony outside area. Like, I'm right up there. There were tables, and you could eat and sit and look at the falls. So coming up is the Pont de Rouen pedestrian bridge. The old Pont de Rouen. It was a gift to the city of Rochester from our French sister city, Rouen, or Rennes, R-E-N-N-E-S. I think it's pronounced wrong. But it used to be, was it converted in 1982, I believe? And it was actually a road bridge. I think Platt Street it was, and they turned it to pedestrian bridge in the 1980s as a gift from our sister city, Rouen. I'm not really sure what we gave them back, if we get anything. Probably something really cool, right? You can see in the distance over there an old incinerator plant. I'll do a video exploring that one day. Pretty easily accessible. I've been there once before. In the side of the building here, you can literally see old ruins of just buildings past. Live in an old city amongst ruins. Almost every video that I have going exploring that's not a camping video run into some kind of ruins, 100, 200 more year old stuff. There used to be a big power plant here that was demolished in 2017, pretty recently. The old BB power station. No longer. Right next to this big mound here. It was over there in that grassy area. You actually cannot really see anything there. You can see some old remnants of bridges. An actual bridge over there. I'm gonna walk up the Pont de Ron here for a little bit, show you guys the actual, the main falls. We saw the top of it. Let's look at the front of it. The good part. The part that people usually want to see when they look at waterfalls. See over here, the Genesee Brewing Company opened in 1878. It's one of the oldest breweries in the country. I know it's not the oldest, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. But you can kind of see still to this day the railroad trestle, the old railroad wood stuff running along the gorge wall there. It's been decommissioned for so long, 100 years or more probably, but it's still there and it still looks super cool. I'd love for them to open that. Imagine how cool, just a train going along the edge of the gorge. Oh man. So yeah, 1878 Genesee Brew House. And there's High Falls. It's probably most well known to people outside of Rochester. In 1829, the daredevil Sam Patch, the guy who made a career out of going over Niagara Falls in a barrel, tried going over High Falls in a barrel. And he died. That was Friday the 13th, 1829. That guy's so dead now. He met his match. See over there the Wings of Progress, the top of the Times Square building that we started the video out next to. It's a nice view of the city. You can see there's that building we were in that was closed off, and right below it, those little squares on the gorge wall, those are lasers. And they had a laser light show on this wall. It was pretty wild in the 90s. It was a wild time in the 90s. We're almost to the end of the tour, but we're here on Cataract Street. This used to be off limits to the public, but ever since they turned this building into a tap room, there's lots of people here. It's normally popping, but again, it's closed today. You can see the remnants. This is kind of a path here, but this is where the railroad went. And then over there is where I pointed out the train tracks going along the side of the gorge. See if we can see them. I don't think so. Kinda. There's something there. It's kind of neat. Yeah, a little bit. And you can see the foundation here, the foundational walls of another building. Now, it was a huge deal for some people when they tore this building down. They thought that they should have made the brewery in this building over here. It was almost beyond disrepair. There was a grassroots movement to save it. They were like, oh, you're just tearing it down because it blocks the view of the falls from the new tap room. And you know, that is why they did it, but it was nice that they at least left some of the foundation around as kind of the border of the parking lot. Normally I don't love when they tear down old buildings for parking lots, but in situations like this, where there was nothing here. It was an abandoned industrial zone, and this parking lot allows people to come here now and spend time. So in this case, I guess I'm okay with it. Yeah, and up there is my they've never cleaned out their balcony. I've been looking at this balcony for years. It's just complete crap. These are subsidized housing over here. They got great views of the fall. Well, you know, they do over there. Right here is bush. So thanks for watching, everybody. This has been Small Plots with Kevin. I'm Kevin, and thanks for joining me on this little mini tour of State Street into High Falls, Rochester, New York. There's tons more history around that I missed. Maybe I'll come back and do a video on some specific things. But I'm glad to get a little bit of an overview here. So yeah, thanks for watching till the very end here, everybody. And I'll catch you on that little bit of a nextie. See ya! Mwah.